She only prefers mom because that's where the food is. I've had a decent relationship with my mother-in-law, but she's been driving me insane ever since I had my twin girls in November. She has been extremely overbearing, wanting to be over to see them practically every day of the week, insisting that she needs to be able to take them to her house so they can see grandma's house, making obnoxious kissy noises over FaceTime and in person when she sees them, just so obnoxious at all times. But today I was really upset because one baby girl was crying and I took her to console her. My mother-in-law insisted she was hungry. I just fed her. So my DH here is dear husband. My husband informed her that she has been a little fussy lately and just prefers her mama over anyone else. Mother-in-law then feels the need to say, oh, that's only because she knows that's where the food is. Like, excuse me. I am proud and grateful that I'm able to breastfeed my girls, but that is not all I'm here for. She prefers me because I carried her for 9 months and she feels safe and comfortable with me, not because I'm just a food service. Just needed a little vent session because I'm so over her. I don't know, maybe it's just the hormones, but I've really had enough. Oof. Now, this is one of those situations. Obviously, a lot of conflict happens between, let's say, mothers and their mother-in-law for very many reasons. And I think that some aspect of that is hormonal. I think some aspect of that is the desire, especially of a new mother, to assert herself in her relationship, to find her own standing in terms of as a mother and to build her own types of relationship with her kids. And all parents will experience this, where pretty much everyone always, or every other parent at least, has an opinion about how you should be raising your kids, and learning to create boundaries and to understand to what extent should you take advice on board versus when should you say, no thanks, we've got it, is definitely a lesson that's quite difficult for a lot of parents to learn. And I'm 100% one of those people as well. And you can also very clearly tell in this situation that the source of the conflict is quite complicated. Just the line, just so obnoxious at all times. You can hear the frustration in the way that she phrases it, and things like making obnoxious kissy noises. Like, these are things that kids don't care about at all. It's just that you as an adult, when you sit there and you watch it and you listen to it and you see how someone's interacting with your kids, and you're like, oh, why are you doing this? I get where she's coming from. All that said, I actually think the statement, I mean, I understand the statement was said as though it's an insult, and that's why you take offense to it. But I don't think that the statement itself is that bad. Or at the very least, I don't think it's wrong. I suspect that to some extent, the level of anger that she feels is probably directly related to the fact that it's kind of based in reality to a large extent. I think that motherhood is really hard, at the very least, a baby's attachment to his mother is very hard to separate from the experience of motherhood, from the biological reality aspect of motherhood, which means, yes, babies are very attached to their mothers because they do get carried in the womb for 9 months. You can imagine, especially as a very vulnerable and like from the very early beginning of when they start being able to perceive things, they can hear their mother's heartbeat, they start hearing their mother's voice. They are obviously comforted by the fact that they're in the womb. It feels all comfortable and cozy and safe, and it's all built to feel like that for them. And then when they're born, that attachment continues. They still recognize her smell, they still recognize her voice from when they were in the womb. And breastfeeding, actually, which I know is a shocker to a lot of people nowadays, because we have things like formula and people pump and people nurse with bottles quite a lot. Like the number of bottles that you can see in a store when you go to the baby section is quite crazy. Breastfeeding is actually part of that process, that for the baby, as far as the baby is concerned, when he's nursed, it's not just food. And I think that this is the problem that a lot of people have, or the reason that a lot of people take this type of statement as an insult. Breastfeeding comes with a much deeper connection to the mother. It has a lot, like all the comfort and care of being held to another human being, the skinship of it, skin to skin contact. All of these are aspects of it as well. You cannot separate the baby's attachment to you as a mother from the fact that you are the mother, physically and biologically speaking. Which again is not to say that, you know, adoptive parents don't also build relationships with their kids, and it's also not to say that babies can't be attached to other adults in their life for any other reason. It doesn't diminish any of that, but it is one aspect of breastfeeding and nursing that is, you just can't avoid it. It's just how it works. And so I don't think that this is an insult. I actually also think this idea of just food is kind of sad, and it does not even reflect how we as adults interact with food. If you think about the way that a lot of our festivals have some kind of association with food, a lot of the family gatherings will always be around a meal. Food for us is an extremely social thing as well. So it's not just that it's not just that it's fuel for our bodies to then, you know, function. And it's pretty much the same for a baby, just in a completely different way, and in a way that I think is even more meaningful and even deeper and even more joyful than the way that we as adults interact with food. So that's what I would say to the statement itself. All that said, I completely understand where the anger is coming from, and you'll see pretty much all the comments are on the mother side here. The top comment is, please cover up, your jealousy is showing, which is fair enough. I guess that might be the case. And then everyone else takes it as, wow, the disrespect is crazy. What did you say back to her? I would have snapped at her. That comment was so rude. Can you limit the frequency of getting together? And then this is an example response. Wow, that was incredibly rude. Don't expect to be around my children if that's how you plan to behave. Ugh. I think that's a really sad statement. I think this is completely sad. And again, I totally understand it. I understand that it was, at least it sounds like, oh, that's only because she knows that's where the food is. I know it sounds like it was intended to be insulting, or at least diminishing in some way. I think the mother-in-law here maybe was trying to bring down the mom a little bit, or to reduce the relationship that she has with her baby. And that's kind of sad. And maybe it is motivated by jealousy, envy, and all of these other things. So I understand where the anger is coming from. But I do think that sometimes when you hear these statements and you want to take offense at them, there's nothing like that. It's not a problem. So what? So what if the baby really, really likes being with you as a mother because you nurse him? Or nurse her. That's not a bad thing. Something to be proud of.